God, don't let us die here! Maya's choked scream echoed through the dark ice cave. The winter storm in the Appalachians howled. It buried every spark of hope. Her two young children huddled in her arms, their breaths weakened like a candle about to flicker out. Maya felt her flesh and bones freezing. In that moment, she believed the blood-soaked history of her ancestors, those abandoned amidst life's storms, was replaying in her own fate. Then, through the thick snow curtain, a pair of glowing eyes flashed. A black dog stepped forward silently. Its steady gaze seemed to say, "Follow me." But where would it lead them? A mirage in the storm, or a true escape? The wind shrieked through the Appalachians like the howl of demons. It swept every trace of warmth from the earth. In the heart of a small stone cave, Maya Johnson wrapped a thin blanket tightly around her two children. Their breaths were faint, mingling with the white puffs rising from their mouths, like prayers dissolving in the frigid air. That night, the temperature plunged to a level where humans had only hours to fight. Outside, snow fell relentlessly. It was so thick it blocked even the moonlight. Each time the wind swept across the cave's mouth, Maya felt it like a razor-sharp blade slicing her skin. She pulled her children close, pressing her face into their hair. She tried to share the last remnants of warmth from her shivering body. Her heart pounded not just from the cold, but from a deep-seated fear that this might be the final night for her and her children. In the darkness, memories flooded back. Maya thought of her late mother, who sang gospel hymns in the small church where they grew up. Those songs always spoke of faith and despair, of ancestors who endured centuries of suffering. Now Maya felt herself at the crossroads of past and present, a life-or-death test that history had placed on her shoulders. Her little girl stirred weakly. Her lips were purple. Maya, panicked, touched her daughter's mouth, feeling the faint breath. Despair gripped her heart. She screamed into the empty void, "God, don't let us die here!" The cry bounced off the stone walls, then vanished into the roaring wind. No answer came. Only a silence colder than the blizzard remained. Maya shut her eyes tightly. A hot tear rolled down her cheek, freezing instantly on her skin. Then, a strange sound broke through. Not the wind, not falling rocks. It was footsteps, slow, deliberate, cutting through the howling storm. Maya strained her eyes toward the cave's mouth, where a misty white veil obscured everything. And from that void, a black shape emerged. A dog, its fur jet black, its eyes glowing like twin embers. It stood there, its form steady, unshaken by the blizzard. For a moment, Maya thought she was seeing an ancestral spirit, sent to guide them. The dog didn't bark, didn't growl. It took a few silent steps into the cave, its eyes never leaving Maya. Then it turned, looking out into the thick snow, then back at her a clear signal. "Follow me." Maya hesitated. Outside was a deadly storm, but staying here, they would surely freeze to death. The dog stood still, its gaze calm, patiently waiting. A strange peace flooded Maya's heart, as if the universe had sent her a single choice. She leaned down, whispering to her children, "Hold tight to Mommy. We're going to follow it." The three stumbled out of the cave. Instantly, the wind struck their faces, stinging to the bone. The snow was so deep, each step felt like sinking into an abyss. But the dog walked ahead, its stride steady. It occasionally looked back to ensure they followed. Time seemed to stop. Maya no longer knew how long they walked. Her feet were numb, her lungs felt frozen. But each time she wanted to collapse, she saw that black shape unyielding, guiding. A fragile spark of faith flared in her heart, like a flame in the winter night. Then, through the thick snow, a faint light flickered. At first, just a dim golden speck. Then it grew, clearer aglow from glass windows. A mansion stood tall amidst the storm. Its snow-covered roof gleamed, but its windows radiated warm light. Maya gasped, tears mixed with snow. She knew she wasn't dreaming. The dog stopped, turning to look at her. Its eyes seemed to say, "This is where you were meant to be." Before them, in the raging storm, the house stood like an oasis of life. But deep down, Maya sensed, this wasn't just a shelter. It was the gateway to a story far greater than the blizzard outside. Dear audience, if you're watching and find this story gripping, Please comment 1 or I'm still here to keep listening. The heavy wooden door creaked open with a long groan, like the sigh of a house that had witnessed centuries pass. Warm air rushed out, embracing Maya and her children like a miracle after their life-or-death journey. They stumbled inside, clothes caked with snow, faces purple, breaths ragged. Behind them, the black dog followed silently. Its steps were light, as if it belonged here. Inside the mansion was another world. A long hallway glowed under crystal chandeliers. Golden light bathed polished wooden walls, reflecting off rows of ancient portraits. The faces in the paintings stared down. Their eyes were sharp, regal, as if watching every move of the strangers who dared enter their domain. Maya clutched her children tightly. Her heart still raced. She wasn't sure if this was a safe haven or a strange trap fate had thrust them into. Their footsteps echoed in the hallway. Each sound reverberated like a drumbeat, heralding something about to unfold. Then, from the end of the hall, a figure appeared. An old man, tall and thin, with a straight back. He walked slowly, but firmly. His white hair gleamed, his eyes deep, as if holding a century's memories. He wore an old-fashioned suit, tailored in a style time had left behind, as if this house existed outside of time itself. He stopped before Maya, studying the Soak trio. Then his gaze fell to the black dog sitting silently beside them. For a moment, his eyes flickered with an unnameable spark, surprise, shock, or perhaps an old belief rekindled. "How did you come to be here?" His voice was low, slow, as if echoing from a deep vault. Before Maya could answer, her young son coughed violently. The old man raised a hand, then turned, leading them deeper inside. No explanations, no questions. His steps carried the weight of command. They passed through a grand living room. The arched ceiling soared. Stained glass windows cast shimmering light across the wooden floor. In the center, a massive fireplace roared with flames. The fire's glow danced on the walls, stretching their shadows into distorted, ghostly shapes. Maya guided her children to the fire. Warmth seeped back into their frozen skin, their veins. Elijah Langston, the name the old man gave, poured her a steaming cup of tea. The scent of cinnamon and ginger revived her, a flicker of life after the storm's nightmare. But Maya remained wary. Her eyes scanned the room, then froze on a large painting in the center. An old portrait depicted a man in a black suit, seated with proud eyes. But what chilled Maya was the detail beneath his chair, a black dog. Its eyes glowed, identical to the dog beside them now. Her throat tightened. She glanced at the dog. It lay calmly by the fire, seemingly unconcerned by the eerie coincidence. But in Maya's heart, a quiet storm stirred. Why did this animal, painted decades ago, appear here now? Elijah caught her staring at the painting. He nodded slightly. A faint smile curved his lips. "That is my ancestor, Charles Langston, and that dog has walked with our family for generations." He offered no further explanation, as if that statement sufficed, as if the family's history could be captured in a single portrait. Maya gripped her hands tightly. Unease crept into her bones. The children seemed less bothered by the painting. Her little girl reached toward Scout, the name Elijah gave the dog, and gently stroked its glossy black fur. The animal lay still, its bright eyes patient, almost human. The fire crackled warmly, heating the room, but Maya felt a different chill linger. She wasn't sure if she'd found refuge or stepped into a story she wasn't ready to face. Dear audience, pause a moment to subscribe to the channel before diving into the main story, but only if you truly connect with what I'm sharing here. Leave a comment below to tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. The first night in the Langston mansion passed slowly, like a somber dream. The storm raged outside, but inside, the ticking of an ancient clock echoed through the halls, reminding Maya that time here moved to its own rhythm, detached from the world beyond. As her children slept in a lavish room, Maya lay awake. The portraits, their unmoving gazes, and the mysterious black dog haunted her mind. The feeling of being an intruder, stumbling into a story that began long before her, wouldn't fade. Soft footsteps sounded in the hallway. Scout. The dog stood silently at the threshold. Its eyes glowed like twin torches in the dark. It looked at Maya, then turned, as if signaling. She hesitated briefly, then draped a shawl over her shoulders and followed. The house at night felt surreal. Moonlight streamed through tall windows, casting silver patterns on the tiled floor. Scout led the way. Its steps were nearly soundless. They passed through long corridors, a library filled with leather-bound books, a music room with a lace-covered antique piano. Everything seemed asleep, waiting for a hand to awaken it. Finally, Scout stopped before a dark wooden door. It was slightly ajar, as if waiting. Maya pushed it gently. The hinges creaked, revealing a tiny room. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and decayed wood. Moonlight spilled through a small window, illuminating stacks of wooden boxes. Maya approached, brushing away dust. She realized they were filled with documents, files, letters, handwritten journals, all stamped with a stylized L, the Langston family crest. Her heart raced. These weren't items displayed for guests. This was a private archive. Maya opened a file. The first page was a contract from the late 19th century. The language was dry, but its meaning clear. Records of land, of labor, a veiled term for the South's blood-stained history. Her throat tightened. The Langstons had owned vast cotton fields, and with them, hundreds of enslaved people. She trembled, flipping through more pages. Black and white photos. A group of black men and women stood in a line, their eyes heavy with sorrow. Behind them stretched fields to the horizon. Below the photo, a caption, Langston Estate, 1910. Maya's chest tightened. History wasn't just words in books, it lived here, in these documents Scout had led her to. And somehow, it was part of the journey she was now on. A small leather-bound notebook sat apart, its cover cracked. Maya opened it. The pages, written in faded brown ink, were firm. This wasn't a financial ledger. It was a diary. The first lines told of a young black woman named Clara, working in the mansion in the early 20th century. She wrote of long, grueling days, of hiding runaways in the old wine cellar below the house. A secret network, a late branch of the Underground Railroad, persisting within the Langston family. Maya read, her eyes blurring. In this mansion, there were both hands of oppression and whispers of resistance, a profound contradiction preserved through generations. Scout whimpered softly, as if urging her on. Maya turned to the final page. Clara wrote, "If one day my descendants find this, remember that truth never vanishes. It only waits for someone brave enough to uncover it." Maya closed the notebook, her hands shaking. Scout rested its muzzle on her knee. Its eyes were steady, as if it knew exactly what she'd read. Behind her, a sound broke the silence, a creak of wood under heavy steps. Maya spun around. Elijah Langston stood at the threshold. His tall frame loomed in the moonlight. His eyes locked on the notebook in her hands. No words passed, but in his gaze she saw it. He knew. Morning broke after a long night, but the faint light filtering through the mansion's windows only deepened the gloom. Maya awoke with a heavy heart. Clara's diary haunted her mind, its words like echoes from history, demanding to be heard. Scout was waiting at the threshold. Its glossy black fur gleamed in the dim light. Its eyes met Maya's, unwavering, like a lighthouse guiding her path. Without a word, Maya understood. The journey wasn't over. She wrapped her children in blankets, instructing them to stay near the fireplace. Then, with a mix of fear and resolve, she followed Scout. The dog moved through the halls, down creaking stairs, to the mansion's basement. The wooden door at the bottom of the steps swallowed the light. When Maya pushed it open, a cold, musty breath rose, like the exhalation of the earth. Scout stepped inside first. Its paws clicked on the stone floor. The light from Maya's oil lamp illuminated gray stone walls. The cellar was vast. Dusty shelves held wooden crates, glass jars, bottles of wine untouched for years. But Scout didn't pause there. It headed straight to a wall at the far end. Maya followed, her heart heavy with unease. The dog whimpered, scratching at a small crack between the bricks. She knelt, touching the wall. It was ice cold, but beneath the dust, she saw a faint outline, A secret door. She searched around, finding an iron ring embedded in the wall. She pulled hard. A metallic groan sounded, and the wall slid open, revealing a narrow, pitch-black passage, like the throat of a beast. Her heart tightened. But Scout stepped inside without hesitation. Like a child clinging to a mother's hand, Maya followed the lamp's light, each step cautious. The underground corridor led to a sealed chamber. As the stone door closed behind her, Maya felt breathless. Before her was a space unlike any other. The walls were plastered with maps, banners, old newspaper clippings pinned chaotically. Cabinets held files, cassette tapes, photographs. In the center stood a large wooden table, an open notebook on it. Maya approached, trembling, and flipped through the first pages. The cover read, Malcolm Langston. Her heart jolted. This was the name erased from the family tree, the heir whispered about by Elijah. And in these pages, he'd left everything. Malcolm's diary recounted his years under the family's shadow, efforts to use their wealth to uplift the community, to fight segregation, but always thwarted by forces clinging to old power. He wrote of an enemy, a white businessman named Victor Mercer, who manipulated contracts, hid crimes, and built a corrupt network spanning the region. Maya flipped faster, her eyes blurring. Malcolm described the night he vanished not to flee, but to protect evidence, to save the lives of those in the house. He left this room as a vault of truth, waiting to be found. Scout sat at the table's base, its eyes locked on Maya, as if confirming she was the chosen one. A noise came from behind the door. Maya flinched, clutching the notebook. Elijah Langston stood there. His towering figure filled the lamplight. His aged eyes stared at the diary in her hands. No words passed, but his gaze held a strange mix: sorrow, regret, and a hint of release. He knew she'd touched the secret he'd guarded his entire life. In the stifling chamber, only the crackle of the oil lamp and Maya's pounding heartbeat filled the air. She feared it echoed off the stone walls. Elijah stood motionless, his gaze fixed on Malcolm's diary in her hands. He stepped forward, his steps slow but firm, and placed a gnarled hand on the wooden table. His voice was low, hoarse but clear. You're not the first to come here, but perhaps you're the last. The words sent a chill down Maya's spine. Scout whimpered softly, positioning itself between her and Elijah, like a living shield. In that moment, she realized, the dog wasn't just a guide, it was a guardian. Elijah sighed. His time-worn eyes carried a mountain of memories. He picked up the oil lamp and walked to the opposite wall. His hand brushed over a stack of old documents, then pushed a bookshelf lightly. The wooden structure turned slowly, revealing another passage deeper, darker. Come, he said, his voice no longer commanding but like a prayer. Maya gripped the notebook tightly and followed Elijah and Scout. They entered a second cellar larger, like a secret archive never meant to see light. The lamp's glow illuminated walls covered in maps of America, crisscrossed with red and green lines. Pins marked cities, railroads, names scrawled in black ink. Maya realized this was a map of the civil rights movement. Each pin wasn't random. It marked protests, arrests of black people, disappearances of activists. Wooden shelves held metal boxes. Elijah opened one, revealing cassette tapes, black and white photos, handwritten letters. He handed Maya a photograph. In it, a group of young black people stood together, hands raised. Behind them, a sign read, Justice for All, 1968. Maya looked closely. Her heart shook. Among the faces was one identical to Malcolm Langston, young, eyes blazing, gaze resolute. He didn't vanish to escape, Elijah said softly. He left to fight, and he left it all here, waiting for the day justice would come. Maya carefully set the photo down. She felt the eyes in the image piercing her, urging her to bring their story to light. In a corner, an old wooden chest stood out. Its lid bore the carved initials M.L. Together, Maya and Elijah unlocked it. Inside were thick files, legal documents, land contracts, all proof of Victor Mercer's manipulative network. But among the papers, Maya found a sealed envelope, marked only with handwritten words. To the one who finds this. She opened it slowly. Inside was a letter, written in bold but trembling script, as if penned in haste. If you're reading this, the time has come. I, Malcolm Langston, have spent my life protecting this evidence. I know my time is short, but justice cannot wait forever. Bring light back to this house, and remember, I am not dead. When winter ends, I will return. Maya dropped the letter. Her hands shook. Those words, I am not dead, echoed in her mind like thunder. Elijah stood silent. His eyes glistened with unshed tears. Scout sat close to Maya. Its eyes reflected the lamplight, blazing as if it understood every word. The cellar felt suffocating, heavy with air. Maya sensed past, present, and future intertwining in this room. The secret of a man erased by history was now in her hands. And with it, a promise of return turned everything into a storm about to erupt. Dear audience, are you still here? Take a moment to relax, maybe grab a glass of water, then dive back into this gripping story. Comment 1 if you find it captivating. Don't forget to subscribe. A noise from upstairs made Maya's heart clench. The cellar grew stifling, as if the stones themselves held their breath. Elijah looked up. His eyes blazed. His hands trembled. Scout's ears perked. It growled softly, turning toward the dark staircase. The air thickened. Each moment stretched endlessly. Then, slow, heavy footsteps descended, their rhythm steady but weighted. The lamplight flickered on the stairs until a figure appeared. A tall man, his hair streaked with silver, his bearded jaw flecked with gray, his thick coat dripped with melting snow. His face bore deep wrinkles, but his eyes burned bright, like a torch never extinguished. Elijah gasped, his voice trembling like a child's. Malcolm. The name hung in the air. Maya stepped back instinctively, still clutching the letter. Scout barked once, sharply. The man paused, then knelt, arms open. The dog rushed to him, tail wagging fiercely. The scene was too real to be a vision. Malcolm Langston, the man from the photo, the heir who vanished, now stood before them. He looked up, his eyes meeting Maya's. In that instant, she felt centuries of history swirling in his gaze. Pride, sorrow, defiance, and a fragile spark of hope. Elijah, Malcolm said, his voice low and rough. I promised I'd return when the final winter passed. Elijah stepped forward but stopped halfway. Anguish welled in him. You abandoned everything. Abandoned me, the family, all these years. His voice broke, torn between anger and pain. Malcolm fell silent, his eyes lowered. He didn't evade, didn't defend. Finally, he said, I know, and I carry that guilt. But if I'd stayed, we'd all be dead. I vanished to keep this truth alive. He pointed to the crates, the maps, the relics. I buried my youth here, so this day could come, the day justice is no longer a dream. Maya stood frozen, her chest tightened. In his words, she heard echoes of Clara, of the portraits on the walls, of a community silenced. Malcolm wasn't just a man returning, he was the embodiment of a buried legacy, surviving to speak. Elijah turned away. Tears fell on his weathered face. For years, he'd guarded this house, its secrets, his hopes buried. Now, Malcolm's return was both release and a knife twisting in his heart. Scout moved between them, its head held high, eyes gleaming strangely. It seemed to say, the past is gone, now is the time to choose the future. Malcolm approached Maya. He placed a hand on the letter she held. You read it, didn't you? I wrote it for someone like you, an outsider, but brave enough to uncover it. Maya nodded, speechless. She felt swept into a current beyond herself, a river of history flowing through generations, now pooling in her hands. Now, Malcolm said, his voice stronger, we'll bring justice back. Mercer can't hide his crimes anymore. The Langston family will no longer be buried in silence. Elijah turned back. His eyes were red. For the first time in years, he nodded. If you still have strength to stand, I have strength to fight. The fire in the cellar's hearth flared fiercely. Its warm light bathed their faces. Scout sat between them, its stance regal, like the dog in the ancient portrait, but now alive, a witness to this historic moment. Maya looked around the maps, the letters, the evidence. She knew. The real storm was coming, not of snow, but of justice. And this time, it would spare no one. Winter slowly retreated from the Appalachians. Snow melted, revealing winding trails, trickling ice streams, and dark forests bursting with new green life. Within the Langston mansion, the air shifted too. The house was no longer a shadow, no longer a vault of secrets. It began to breathe again with footsteps, children's laughter, the sounds of life. Maya stood before a large glass window. Sunlight warmed her face. In her arms, her children chattered. Their eyes sparkled as if the horrific night in the storm had never happened. To them, this house was no longer foreign, it had become home. Elijah approached. His steps were slow but steady. The weight of decades seemed lighter on his shoulders. He was no longer just a keeper of memories, but a builder of a new chapter. He looked at Maya. His aged eyes glowed with gentleness. "This house, it once belonged to my family," he said softly. "But now, I believe it belongs to all of us." Maya didn't reply, only smiled. In that smile was gratitude, solace, and a spark of hope for the future. At the end of the hall, Malcolm sat at an old wooden table. He looked like a living monument, silver hair, deep eyes, a lean but resilient frame. He knew he couldn't stay long. His life had passed like a shadow, devoted to guarding a secret. Now, with that secret passed on, he had no place in this new world. He wrote final lines in his notebook. "Justice isn't a destination, but a flame passed hand to hand. When we depart, let the next generation keep it burning." Malcolm looked up, his gaze following Maya and Elijah. He stood, walking toward the main door. Scout followed silently, but stopped. The dog watched him, its eyes glowed, as if bidding farewell to an old warrior. "Where will you go?" Maya asked, her voice thick. Malcolm only smiled, offering no answer. He placed a hand on Elijah's shoulder, then nodded to Maya. The wooden door closed behind him, and he vanished into the morning light. Inside the house, no one felt loss. They understood Malcolm hadn't left. He'd returned to history, to the millions of unnamed souls. That day, Maya, Elijah, and the children began cleaning the mansion. Old rooms had their windows flung open. Sunlight poured in. Portraits were dusted, bookshelves reordered, and the cellar, instead of hiding, was transformed into a display so anyone could see the truth. News of the Langston mansion spread, becoming a small community hub. Locals came, not just to witness history, but to find inspiration for themselves. Maya told the story like a torchbearer. Elijah became a guide, planting seeds of hope with memories. The children ran through the wide halls. Their laughter echoed everywhere. Scout stayed close, its regal presence like a sentinel, but its eyes full of gentleness. To them, Scout wasn't just the dog that saved their lives. It was family, a soul that knew their path. One afternoon, as the sunset stained the sky red, Elijah knelt before Maya. In his hand was an old ring, engraved with the Langston L. He didn't need many words, his eyes said enough. Maya froze, her heart tightened. In her mind flashed her late husband, a past full of loss. But then, seeing her children hugging Scout, laughing in the sunlight, she realized life had given her a new chance. A chance to love, to live, to rewrite history. She nodded, her eyes glistened. Elijah smiled, a kind smile he hadn't allowed himself in years. In that moment, the Langston mansion was no longer one family's legacy. It became a shared home. Scout barked loudly, as if giving approval. The sky blazed, and the fire in everyone's hearts flared bright. In a terrifying blizzard, Maya only sought warmth to save her children. But fate led her to something far greater, the Langston mansion, a place holding history, pain, and an untold legacy. From despair, she found hope. From darkness, she stepped into light. Maya's story isn't just one of survival. It's a reminder. Each generation carries unspoken memories, buried truths, and the duty to ignite justice. Malcolm Langston lived to keep that flame alive. Elijah stayed silent to protect it. And now, Maya and her children have become the torchbearers. Scout, the mysterious, loyal dog, wasn't just a guide through the storm. It was a symbol of ancestors, of memory, of souls, ensuring their family never lost its way. Yet, light is never complete. Somewhere out there, Victor Mercer still lives, and his darkness awaits its chance to return. Could this be just the beginning of the real fight? Now I want to hear from you. What do you think of Maya and the Langston family's journey? Do you believe Victor Mercer will return in the next chapter? Leave a comment below, share this video with friends, and subscribe to not miss part 2, where darkness and light will clash more fiercely than ever.